My name is Denise Foster. I'm 28 years old, and until one dinner shattered everything I believed, I thought I understood my family. We gathered around the dining table in our sprawling Atlanta mansion, the kind of place that practically breathed old money and quiet superiority, but I had never truly belonged there. My life revolved around my startup, a technology I believed could genuinely change lives. To them, however, it was nothing more than a childish fixation I should have abandoned years ago. Dressed in jeans and a plain sweater, I stood out against their polished elegance and effortless luxury. The room felt heavy with judgment, the silence broken only by the delicate clink of silverware. Then my mother leaned forward, her voice cool and sharp enough to cut through the tension. "Denise, we're done rescuing you," she said flatly. "We're not your bank anymore." My father gave a stiff nod, studying me with the detached look of someone assessing a failed investment. My sister's laughter followed, light, cruel, and deliberate, as she reminded me I would never reach her level of success. They believed they were putting me in my place, but I remained calm, my phone buzzing softly in my pocket with a message that would soon unravel everything they thought they knew. They had no idea what was coming, nor that I now held power over everything they valued. They were still smiling. Soon, those smiles would disappear. Just as the first appetizers arrived, my mother spoke again, her voice colder than before. "Denise, that little tech fantasy of yours is a complete waste of time," she said, her words slicing through the soft clatter of crystal and glass. Her gaze pierced me, heavy with disappointment, as though my ambition were a personal insult. She leaned back, chandelier light glinting off the diamonds around her neck. "You're almost 30, she continued with a weary sigh. "When will you finally grow up and get a real job?" My father followed immediately, placing his wine glass down with deliberate precision, his expression stern, like a judge delivering a sentence. "Your sister is out there closing million-dollar real estate deals," he said, gesturing toward Tracy, who sat smiling like victory was already hers. "That's what success looks like, Denise, not some app that hasn't earned a cent." His words struck harder than he knew, but I kept my expression neutral, my hands folded quietly in my lap. I would not give them the satisfaction of seeing me react. Tracy, of course, couldn't resist pushing further. She flipped her hair, her gold bracelet catching the light as she launched into her favorite topic, herself. "I just signed a contract for a downtown condo development," she announced, her voice dripping with pride. "7 figures, Denise." She paused deliberately. "That's the kind of money you'll never see chasing your childish dreams." Her laughter rang out, sharp and mocking. "Still living off our generosity, aren't you? Always needing help." My mother nodded in agreement, lips pressed into a thin line. "We've been too lenient with you," she said, folding her napkin with careful precision. "Tracy's right. You can't depend on us forever." Their words landed like blows. Still, I remained silent. I had heard this performance countless times, every holiday, every so-called family gathering. To them, I was the disappointment, the outsider who refused to fit their carefully curated world. My father leaned forward, his voice firm and self-righteous. "It's time you stood on your own, Denise. No more safety net. You need to learn what it means to earn something." The irony was almost suffocating. Every comfort he enjoyed, the house, the cars, even the wine in his glass, came from inherited wealth. Yet I said nothing, letting their hypocrisy drift past me like cold air. Tracy took a slow sip of wine, amusement gleaming in her eyes. "Maybe you should follow my example," she suggested smoothly. "Get your real estate license. Start small. Actually contribute to this family. You're not built for this startup fantasy. Honestly, it's embarrassing." My jaw tightened as my fingers gripped the edge of my chair. I was used to their judgment, but tonight every insult cut deeper, a reminder of how little faith they had in me. In their eyes, I was a burden, a dreamer destined to fail. But I wasn't there to argue or seek their approval. The phone in my pocket felt heavier with every passing moment, a quiet symbol of a truth they could not yet imagine. They believed their wealth defined my limits. They believed they controlled my future. They were wrong. The room pulsed with their smug confidence, my mother's icy glances, my father's patronizing authority, Tracy's gleeful cruelty. They believed they had already won. I let them speak. Every word only deepened the illusion they were about to lose. Then came the toast. Glasses clinked in arrogant celebration, and at that exact moment, my phone vibrated. I glanced down and froze. Margaret Lee, Trust Fund Manager. Her message was brief, almost clinical. Approve monthly allowances for Edward, Nancy, and Tracy Foster, $20,000 each. I slipped the phone back into my pocket, a deep calm settling over me. The balance of power had just shifted. They believed they had humiliated me, but soon they would understand exactly whose hands held their future. Across the room, I caught Shannon Reed's eye. My closest friend and my partner in the startup understood what this night meant. She had stood beside me through sleepless nights of coding, relentless investor pitches, and setbacks that nearly broke us. I gave her a subtle nod. She excused herself and joined me at the bar. They have no idea what's coming, she murmured, her voice low with anticipation. They don't realize you're the one in control. I leaned closer, watching my family laugh among their glittering circle of guests. They've been living off my decisions for years, I said quietly. It's time they understood that. At that moment, the dining room doors opened. Margaret Lee entered, her heels striking the marble floor with crisp precision. She carried a slim leather folder, her expression calm yet purposeful, like someone arriving to deliver a verdict. The room fell quiet, conversations faded, guests turned, sensing the shift. My mother's smile faltered, my father stiffened, Tracy stopped mid-sentence, her gaze fixed on the newcomer. Miss Foster, Margaret announced, her clear voice cutting through the silence. I require your authorization for the trust fund disbursements. She opened the folder, revealing documents stamped with the family trust seal. Confusion rippled through the room as every gaze shifted toward me. My father let out a harsh laugh. This is absurd, he scoffed. Denise managing the trust? She's chasing a failing app. My mother's voice rose, strained and brittle. There must be some mistake. Margaret, our daughter does not control our finances. Tracy crossed her arms, smirking. Is this a joke? Denise in charge of our money? Please. Margaret remained perfectly composed. She slid a document across the table and tapped a highlighted line. Miss Denise Foster has served as the sole trustee of the $20 million Foster Family Trust since the age of 25. She stated evenly. She oversees all assets, the estate, the vehicles, and the monthly disbursements of $20,000 each. No funds are released without her authorization. The room went completely still. Color drained from my father's face. My mother clutched her necklace for support. Trace's smirk vanished, her wine glass trembling in her hand. Margaret closed the folder, gave me a small nod, and turned toward the door. I will await your decision, Miss Foster. Her footsteps echoed as she left the room, drowning in stunned silence. I rose slowly from my chair, my voice calm and unwavering. For the past 3 years, I said, meeting each of their shocked expressions, every dollar you've spent has passed through me. Your luxury cars, your vacations, Trace's condo projects, all of it required my approval. I paused, letting the truth settle. You believed you were in control, I continued quietly, but the reality is, I always was. Their perfect world had begun to crack, and this was only the beginning. That's a lie, Tracy snapped, but the tremor in her voice exposed the truth she was trying to hide. Mom's gaze shifted anxiously between us, her expression wavering between guilt and stubborn loyalty. Denise, she was trying to protect our family's reputation, she said, her voice unsteady despite her attempt at firmness. Your startup is risky. She only did what she thought was best for all of us. Dad nodded beside her, jaw clenched. She meant no harm, he added quietly, almost pleading. Tracy was trying to keep our name out of scandal. You know how quickly gossip spreads in our circles. Their defense cut deeper than the betrayal itself. They weren't just excusing her, they were choosing her. They knew she had sabotaged my work, poisoned my reputation, and nearly destroyed everything I'd built, yet they still stood by her. Encouraged by their support, Trace's composure shattered completely. I had to do it, Denise, she cried, her eyes frantic. Your app was a disaster waiting to happen. It was dragging this family down. I was saving us. Her voice shook, Her excuses thin and desperate. The confidence she once wore like armor was crumbling. Her carefully constructed world unraveling in front of everyone. The room seemed to shrink around us, thick with tension and betrayal. I placed my phone slowly on the table and met their eyes, my voice quiet but cold. "You all knew," I said. "You knew she lied to investors. You knew she tried to destroy my company, and you still defended her." Mom's fingers tightened around her necklace, tears filling her eyes. She said nothing. Dad looked away, his silence louder than any denial. Tressa's shoulders sagged as the last trace of defiance drained from her face. "You thought you could break me," I continued, rising from my chair, my tone steady and unyielding. "But for 3 years, every luxury you've enjoyed, your cars, your vacations, your deals, came from the trust I control, from me, and now I'm done." The words settled over the room like a verdict. No more allowances, no more trust fund, not a cent. Mom gasped, both hands flying to her mouth. Dad's confident composure collapsed, leaving behind a man stripped of certainty. Tressa's phone slipped from her fingers and struck the table with a dull, hollow sound. Their world, built on arrogance and illusion, was finally breaking apart. I felt no anger, only clarity. They had chosen appearance over truth, betrayal over loyalty. Now they would live with the consequences. As the remaining guests quietly slipped away, I straightened my shoulders. The dining room fell silent, heavy with the weight of what had just unfolded. My family sat frozen, their power gone, their certainty shattered. I had listened to their judgment for years. That chapter was over. "The $20 million trust is under my control," I said, meeting each of their eyes without hesitation. "And starting today, every cent goes into my company, the same one you mocked, the one you said would fail. That's where the money belongs. None of it goes to you. Not now. Not ever." My words cut through the stillness. Mom's breath faltered, her hand clutching her chest. But I did not soften. This was not cruelty, it was accountability. Dad spoke next, his voice rough with desperation. "Denise, the mansion," he said. "Without the funds, we can't pay the property taxes. They'll take it." The confession shattered the last illusion of control. Their grand estate, their proudest symbol of status, was nothing more than a burden they could not sustain. I met his gaze calmly. "That is no longer my concern," I said. "You made your choice when you dismissed me." Tressa's head snapped up, panic blazing in her eyes. "You're ruining me," she choked. "My clients are gone. My deals are collapsing. Without my reputation, I have nothing." Her hands trembled around her phone, as if sheer force could restore what was already lost. The woman who built her life on image and influence was watching it crumble piece by piece. I felt nothing. She had tried to destroy my future. Her downfall was her own doing. Mom's voice broke into a whisper. "Denise, we're your family. You can't turn your back on us." But her words held no power. They had turned their backs on me long ago. "Family doesn't destroy each other's dreams," I said quietly. "Family doesn't lie and sabotage what someone builds. You did that, not me." I stepped toward the door, each movement lighter than the last. "I don't need you to succeed," I said. "Everything I've built, every line of code, every pitch, every sleepless night, is mine. The trust is simply a tool now, and I'll use it to prove you were wrong." My startup was no longer just an idea. It was proof of who I had become. I no longer needed their approval, their wealth, or their name. No one spoke as I walked away. Dad stared at the table, searching for a way to undo the irreversible. Mom's shoulders slumped in defeat. Tracy hovered over her phone, waiting for a rescue that would never come. They had believed they could control me. Instead, their world had depended on me all along. At the doorway, I paused. "You thought you could break me," I said softly, "but I was the one holding you up, and I'm done." The silence behind me was suffocating, so different from the smug laughter that had filled the house hours earlier. Their fortune, their status, their illusion of control, gone. Because when it mattered most, they chose betrayal over belief. I walked out without looking back. Beyond the mansion's tall windows, the Atlanta skyline shimmered, a reminder of the city where I had built something real. Their downfall came swiftly. Tax bills mounted, clients disappeared, And the glamorous life they once flaunted unraveled piece by piece. I was finally free, ready to build something greater than their narrow world. 6 months later, I stood in my new office overlooking that same skyline. The space pulsed with energy, screens glowing, voices exchanging ideas, a team united by purpose. Our company's logo shone proudly on the wall, a symbol of everything I had fought to create. What they once mocked as a foolish dream had become one of the city's most promising tech ventures, praised as a disruptor in its field. The trust that once funded indulgence had become the foundation of innovation, reshaped by my vision, my risk, my determination. Meanwhile, my parents' empire had collapsed. Without the trust's support, they lost their mansion to unpaid taxes and moved into a small apartment far from the city's center. Their life of galas and luxury gave way to careful budgeting and modest living. Tress's fall was harsher still. Her reputation dissolved, her clients vanished, and her career crumbled. She now worked quietly behind a desk, far removed from the glamorous world she once ruled. The designer labels and magazine features were replaced by whispered rumors and closed doors. She called once. I never returned the message. Through it all, Shannon Reed remained by my side, my closest friend, my partner in every struggle and every victory. As we reviewed our latest growth reports, she smiled. "We did this, Denise," she said warmly. "Not them, just us." I smiled back, grateful, not only for success, but for the people who truly believed in me. Our company was thriving. Investors were lining up. Downloads surged daily. What my family tried to destroy had become unstoppable. Standing by the window, watching the city move below, I understood a truth I had learned the hard way. Never mistake silence for weakness. The person you underestimate may be the one holding your future. My family had tried to control me, dismiss my vision, and sabotage my work. But real success doesn't come from approval or inheritance. It comes from believing in yourself when no one else will. I built something real, not from their wealth, but from resilience, courage, and unwavering conviction. What happened to them was not revenge, it was consequence. And I no longer needed their approval to know I had won.